Among the things that makes Kinkaid unique is the school's commitment to balanced growth, the well-developed child. The first leg of this three-legged stool, of course, is academics. That's the most important part. But the school has a very strong commitment, and I suspect always has to athletics and to the arts. While many independent schools would say that, Kinkaid really means it, and means it by putting its money where its mouth is, so to speak.
From the beginning, she had someone who was interested in art, who would teach art and music, someone who was interested in athletics, who would give kids exercise outside, and then she continued to teach herself reading, writing, and arithmetic for a long time.
We expect our students to be involved in many activities. We have a very, very active arts program and a very active sports program. And it is a challenge to balance all of that. And just one quick example, I know of a girl in my advisory this year who, in 6th grade, they are required to do a quarter of orchestra, a quarter of art, band, and choir. And she is playing the flute. Her parents have no real musical interest or talent and were absolutely astonished. She's very good and she loves it. Kinkaid is very successful in opening up avenues for children to explore that they might not have otherwise.
First of all, people like to right off the bat compare it to St. John's. And I think Kinkaid in their admissions process looks for more balance, some athletes, musical talents, something other than just high grades.
One of the things that's been great about building the facilities that we have, both in the arts and athletics, is that you can visibly see students step up in their performance or in the quality of their work because of the facilities. And I will never forget the very first dramatic production we had when the Lenny C. Katz Performing Arts Center opened, and it was so patently clear that the students were aware of the fact that they were in a first-rate performing theater, and that they darn well better be good.
The focus on a balanced education makes for a well-rounded adult.
By having them all having to take band, orchestra, they were always important in Kinkaid because of the trying to, again, getting them to think about other ways of doing things, not just your standard ways. So they really challenged them to do that, to be so imaginative.
I ran for class president, and then I found out I had all these friends. They made posters for me. They spent the whole weekend like decorating the halls, and Marie Fay for class president and stuff. I didn't win, but that wasn't the point. The point was I had the gumption or grit or whatever to run and to lose. You gotta take risks in life. You gotta say yes to things, because if you don't, then you'll never be anybody.
Writing and self-expression are pillars at Kinkaid.
One of the things that Kinkaid does is, whether it's English department or history department, is stress writing. Now, to write a history essay and to write an English essay can be two very, very different things. And I'd have some students tell me, Mr. Garman, I'm making an A in English. And I said, but that's an English essay. You got to support what you say over here. In the history department, we were dedicated, still are, as best I know, to having kids reach their own conclusions about issues. So it's, I guess, what you might call expository writing in history here. We do a lot of that, starting with the 9th grade all the way to the end. And in the 12th grade, we have position papers where the kids similar, but they're smaller. We have research papers. We are the department at Kinkaid that does research.
The Kinkaid curriculum provides a high-level education that serves its students well.
The curriculum itself is, I would describe as somewhat traditional. It has consisted of the sort of the primary departmental or individual disciplines: English, math, science, foreign language, history, and of course, as time has gone along, added to that computers and expanded fine arts and so forth. And there has been no great need to change that dramatically because it's worked well, and Kinkaid students have, I think ever since they started, graduating from high school here and going on to college, have been very successful in college and university.
It's all made possible by a committed board of trustees.
Kinkaid's trustees have, for years and years, been some of the most eminent movers and shakers in the city. The CEOs of so many major corporations, people who cared very much about the common good. I hesitate to say this, but I think it's literally true. Trustees at Kinkaid were enormously proud of being Kinkaid trustees. These are men and women of distinguished achievement and impressive idealism.
There is this culture in Houston of support, but especially in Kinkaid. When I first came here as headmaster in 1996, we did a long-range plan. We identified some needs that the school had, many of which were physical, and then we launched upon this campaign, the most ambitious campaign, capital campaign in the history of the school. More ambitious than some people thought was appropriate. And I can remember very well the discussion that took place among the Board of Trustees about, well, gee, should we really aim that high, or maybe we should aim a little bit lower? But the Board of Trustees said, no, let's go.
Kinkaid's parents, too, loved and appreciated the school and were generous in their annual contributions. And we're just very, very fortunate to be in a place like Houston. Kinkaid wouldn't be a fraction of what it is were it not for the location. This is a wonderful city. During my headmastership here of 17 years, I believe I'm right about this, the endowment increased by, I think it was something between 45 and 50 million. I forget the exact number, but that's a wonderful reflection of the school, its teachers, the success of its children, and the community itself.
Only 4 people have held the job of headmaster at Kinkaid during its first century.
Obviously, Mrs. Kinkaid passed away long before I came to Kinkaid, but in everything that I've read about her, it was the same thing. I mean, it was the character, it was the commitment to education, it was the passion for education, it was the love of children, it was the love of the business that characterized all 3 of them. So I actually felt enormously fortunate, humbled, but also very excited to come here and to have the opportunity to follow in the footsteps of such educational giants in the independent school arena.
Former students forge lifelong bonds.
I do still feel like some of my dearest friends are friends that I met at Kinkaid, and there are about 4 or 5 of us that get together almost every year. I do feel like Kinkaid has a wonderful sense of connection and to each other and community that I hope my children will feel.
We had 350 children in the school, when I was graduating. But we were like a big family, and those friendships have worn well over the years, and that's very meaningful.
People talk still today about the Kinkaid family, and now that we're so large, I don't know how strong the feeling is, but I know that when I'm traveling abroad or I'm in another city and I run into somebody who's gone to Kinkaid, Whether it was 20 years ago or 5 years ago, I'm always greeted as a friend and as if we share a really important experience.
Attending the Kinkaid School has become a multi-generational experience for many families.
There are just a lot of children that my children have been friends with whose parents or aunts and uncles or grandparents or whoever, went to Kinkaid. I certainly felt that I had an advantage, not only, I guess, academically, but I don't know, it just gave me a sense of self-confidence going off to college, and that's something I wanted for my children.
Kinkaid has established for itself a very special reputation.
Kinkaid is a unique school, and I've worked at 4 different independent schools, and I've visited scores of others, and I've been in this business for now 44 years. So I know independent schools and love independent schools, but it's a very special school, and I feel fortunate to have had the opportunity to be a part of it and to have led it for the past 17 years.
My association with the school has been wonderful, both as a student and then as a trustee. It's sort of a one-of-a-kind school. None of the other schools in town are like it. They have chosen other ways of doing it. It's not that we're better necessarily, but we have our own process here. It's been a wonderful experience to be part of a school that is not only unique, but nationally known for its quality in all spheres. Drama, arts in general, the reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's been very gratifying.